Hey, welcome back for another video. I'm Rob and this is Sigma 3 Survival School, where it's our job to increase your survivability. And today we're going to talk about the Swedish Fire Log. It's one of the most cliche bushcraft topics on YouTube, and I'm going to explain why almost everyone is doing it wrong, or at a minimum doing it the hard way. With bushcraft, if you have to carry a bunch of tools and extra weight in your kit to recreate some elaborate technique, the chances of you using it in real life are slim to none. The whole point of bushcraft is the more you know, the less you carry. And since pounds equals pain, we like to keep our bushcraft kits light. Because if you can't do it with a knife, saw, and hatchet, it's probably not worth learning. So first I'm going to show you all the inefficient ways of doing the Swedish Fire Log, and then I'm going to show you the right way. So let's first jump into all the bad ways of doing it and go from there. The wire method is fairly simple to pull off. All you do is split your log out into quarters, similar to the way that I do it. And then you're going to split out the middle. But this inherently makes the structure unstable and is the whole reason that you need the wire in the first place. And the other problem is that most people don't carry wire. I carry wire for survival trapping purposes, but 99% of your outdoorsmen aren't going to have those materials. Another major issue is oxygen flow. You'll notice she props it up on two logs in order to get oxygen from the bottom. But it is a very difficult fire lay to start. You really need something super flammable like birch bark or something combustive in order to get it going. And it's still going to have low oxygen flow. And right here she's using a rock, and rocks can be inherently dangerous. They tend to absorb moisture, and if you don't know how to look for the right kind of rock, they will explode on you. And I've been hit by rocks numerous times from fires, and it is a legitimate danger you should be aware of. But all in all, the wire method is just not optimal. Most people cut it too tall, it's inherently unstable, and has low oxygen flow levels. The drill method is my least favorite of all the methods, primarily due to the fact that you need to carry around a massive Scotch-eye auger bit, which is extremely heavy, difficult to pack, and not practical for almost anything other than pure bushcraft trips. You've got to construct a handle each time you want to use it, and it's incredibly difficult to screw through material like that, especially when you're trying to line up two holes. The structure is inherently more stable than other types of Swedish fire logs, but has such a terrible oxygen flow that getting them started is just incredibly difficult. So no matter what you do, you're going to have a low amount of oxygen flow, and it's going to take the fire a very long time to get started. It's really just not your best bet. The chainsaw technique is the most impractical of the three methods shown. While faster than all the other methods, I always ask myself, if you have a chainsaw, why wouldn't you have just packed a good cook kit? This technique is really just reserved for backyard nostalgia, something you could hang out with the wife and kids next to and crack a cold one. But for most practical purposes, it's useless, primarily due to the fact that it has terrible oxygen flow. All the tiny little cuts you're making and then having to shove very flammable tinder material into get little to no oxygen, so the log is very difficult to get started. You might spend 20 to 30 minutes getting the actual fire going before you're ready to cook, which is a waste of time in my opinion. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Look for the most efficient method in all your outdoor techniques. So now let's dig into my method. When we're choosing a log to make a Swedish Fire Log out of, we need something preferably that's hardwood, and we need something straight grained. Now, we're going to try to avoid any kind of knots or limbs. That way the area that we're trying to split is going to be easy to split. And the two tools that you can utilize for this, I'm big on the silky saws. They're really almost impossible to beat. The big boy is going to make the job a lot faster for anything bushcraft. This is kind of my go-to saw. And then if I need to be lighter weight, then something like the Gomboy is going to be great as well. I'll post the links in the description below.
The great thing about these silky saws is they're almost like having pocket chainsaws of sorts. They're extraordinarily fast, efficient, and I could really cut any size tree out here that I would reasonably want to use in bushcraft. But you need to remember, it's a pull cut, right? So we're not putting a lot of effort into it. We're just pushing the saw through the wood, and then when we pull back, that's when the cutting action happens. First cut took about 6 minutes, so really fast saw. Let's make the second cut. When I'm cutting the height of this log, I kind of like to use the hang 10 method, right? So spread my fingers out. If I'm looking for a longer cook, I might add a couple more inches, but this is going to be about the optimal height from the coal bed. Remember, when you're making this cut, that both sides need to match. You can't have this cut at a slant or off at an angle. It's got to be a straight cut, or your platform won't sit flat on the ground and your pot won't sit on top of your log. Another cool thing about this is that it acts as a chopping block for processing up all the firewood to actually get your fire going. Once you get your log sliced, all you need is some kind of baton. Mallet's better. Try to find where the natural grain is, and then just start your split. If you don't have a mallet, they're simple to make. You can make one of these in about 5 to 10 minutes, make a relief cut all the way around. And this is a tough piece of seasoned oak. If you were doing it with a straight grained wood, something softer, especially like a pine or a conifer, you wouldn't need that at all. Now we're going to quarter it. Then just put it back together on level ground, making sure that it's stable. Once you get your fire going, just put your pieces of the puzzle right back together, about pot width apart, and then add oxygen. It's best to use resinous materials to get your fire started, and then add hardwoods. If you want to add extra oxygen, especially to a fire that is difficult to get going, you can utilize what I call the diamond blowing technique. And basically you're going to form your fingers into a diamond, and you're going to purse your lips and you're going to blow through that hole. And basically that's essentially like putting a nozzle on a hose. The primary purpose for a Swedish fire log is if you don't have anywhere to set your pot or your pan and you want a convenient location that is going to quickly cook your food. The benefit of this is that it's funneling all the heat up directly into your pan. And so it's almost kind of like the equivalent of a primitive jet boil. And so we've had this on for only about 2 minutes and I'm already starting to get bubbles. It's a great way if bushcraft technique if you're going to cook a stew or something other than, you know, just boiling water, and you're going to leave it set for quite a while and you want something convenient other than just setting it right in the coals. 7 minutes, we've got a hard rolling boil. As the center of your logs start to burn out, you can push the bottoms in. If they start getting tippy at the bottom, you can add rocks around the outside, and you can tailor the heat of your fire by how much firewood you throw in the middle. And that's your Swedish Fire Log, the most efficient way. There's a lot of ways to do things in bushcraft, and you can really devote too many hours to learning a whole bunch of techniques when really you should just be getting good at, a few things in each category. Learn to become efficient. Our brain has only so much space to hold this information, so chew the meat and spit out the bones. Utilize the good tactics, utilize things that are efficient and fast and will work for you, and forget about the rest. Anyways, appreciate y'all watching. Share, like, subscribe, and if you're interested in getting some training, check out survivalschool.us. Thanks and have a great day.